I think everyone deserves a second chance, and we already knew what he did. We were well aware of it back in February. He was honest about it, that he had hit his wife, or now his then fiance and now wife. So why no one turned our back on him then, and just because we have the video proof doesn't mean that we should stop supporting him.
When I saw the video, I was really shocked. I never thought he would do that. He always seemed like a very humble, nice person.
They only got rid of him because of what everyone else said, because everyone else was mad, but they should have gotten rid of him in the first place.
Outside the stadium where the Baltimore Ravens played the Pittsburgh Steelers Thursday night, fans were there celebrating not just the game, but also, you heard them, words of support for Ray Rice. This in spite of the video showing him beating his then fiancée in a hotel elevator. Add to that verdicts in the Oscar Pistorius case, yet another video coming to light in the Ferguson, Missouri case, and trouble for the doctor who treated Joan Rivers. Let loose the legal hounds. Welcome back to MidPoint. Criminal defense and civil attorney, host of the radio show named in his honor, and the calmest man in law anywhere, Adam Thompson joins us once again. How you doing, Adam?
Doing great, Ed. Thanks for having me on.
Always a pleasure, man. We know how calm you are and how just we need to jack you up a little bit and get you all excited in here. I must tell you, though, what has happened is the fans who came out, and there were a lot of them on Thursday Night Football, certainly at the game, who supported Ray Rice. And this has a lot of people just shaking their heads, certainly after the video that we've seen, the punch itself, and many people who know domestic abuse cases who say, if a guy hits a woman like that the first time, it's not as if he did it the first time. This likely has been going on for some time. Legally speaking, though, well, I wanted to get your opinion on that, the reaction from that, and also where we are legally here, because the NFL has every right to take the action that they did against Ray Rice.
The NFL could take an extraordinary amount of action against Ray Rice. And what's ironic about this is when this all first broke, it was a 2-day suspension. That's it. And in light of the video that has now come out, everyone's up in arms about this because they're like, how could the NFL take such action when you see this horrific video, which is abuse beyond what you normally see in any kind of abuse case? He just flattens her in an elevator, drags her out. The NFL knew all this, though. This tape was disclosed to them back in April. They had it. It was reviewed. There's a tape that even says it was reviewed by the NFL, but yet the commissioner is playing like he had no idea about this because it sends such a terrible message to how the NFL views domestic violence or criminal charges of star players, because the most important thing, and we said this before being on the show, Ed, money, money, money. It's about profits. It's about making sure those endorsement deals get out there, fans are in the seats, and everybody's making that big green dollar. And if it impacts that, they try to sidestep or to downplay it, which is what happened in this case. They never expected the video to come out, and now that it is out, they have to explain how such a horrific video leads to just a 2-day suspension, and it shows they don't really consider it anything serious, but now that it's out, they got to do an about-face.
Okay,
so
there's only two things that happened here. Only one of two things happened again, and knowing the NFL as I do. Either A, the tape did come into the hands of somebody at the National Football League, and they made the decision not to take it upstairs, not to put it in Goodell's hands, and to make sure that it was hidden, hoping that it would go away. Or B, Roger Goodell is one of the biggest, most bald-faced liars in the history of professional sports. Which one do you go with?
He's a liar, and it's going to go down, and it could lead to him maybe having to resign. I'll tell you why. Pretend law enforcement never even gave him the tape, right? Common sense. Ed, where did this happen? In a casino. We all see casino movies. We've been in casinos. There's a camera every 2 feet away. That every square inch of a casino is under surveillance. Everything is taped, everything's recorded, everything is saved and archived. If they really wanted to know what happened, and he said I was in a casino elevator and this took place, all you got to do is ask for the tape. You view the tape, you know exactly what happened without relying on Ray Rice, who was the accused in this case, saying what happened. You can see with your own eyes.
All right.
Did they do that? No. Big blunder for NFL. This is going to blow up in their face.
I got to tell you, though, you are right about this, because if you see what happens outside the elevator, anybody with a brain cell, or at least one working brain cell, would say there's got to be cameras inside the elevator. We got to see what it is, one way or the other. I have to go with you on that. That's just foolish. All right. New witnesses coming forward in the Ferguson shooting. Interesting now, we're seeing more witnesses come forth. Again, they did not see the actual incident, but the witnesses here, at least you don't see it on the video, but the witnesses claim they were watching it. How does this now add to the whole run of videos that we're seeing here? And we're always seeing new people come out and say that they saw it, but you still got to temper it and make sure that it all fits and it all is actually legal and they did what they say they did. I know I'm putting a lot of ifs in there, but don't you have to approach it that way regardless?
Well, the ifs is the right way to frame all of this, because there's going to be investigators working on behalf of the family, trying to scour the whole neighborhood and get anyone that has information on this in hopes of bringing a case. There's going to be the prosecutor's office and trying to build a case against the police officer to determine whether or not he really did a justified shooting or not. And they're going to be scouring the neighborhood. You're going to come up with people on both sides of the fence, some very authentic, some a little pushed and exaggerating, some may just be bold-faced lying. That's what happens in these kind of cases. People like to get themselves on TV. Sure, I was there, I saw everything that happened. And then you find out they didn't see much, or what they knew was really, told to them, and they're repeating it or regurgitating it and embellishing it a bit. So you have to look at everything with a grain of salt at this point. Take the evidence in, do your due diligence, review it, and see how it all meshes with the real facts that you know are really unopposed or unchallenged, and does it make sense or not. Some of it may, some of it may not. Whether these guys really saw what they claim they saw and were there and witnessed what part of the case they say they saw, we don't know yet. But it will be scrutinized, it will be evaluated, and if it is credible, then it'll be useful. If it isn't, it'll be tossed to the side, like I'm sure a dozen other reports, phone calls, or alleged videos that they said exist really don't add up, will push to the side.
You still have to make sure until the investigation is done, and frankly, as everybody has said, if the cop's guilty, burn him. I mean, that's the end of the story here, but you still have to prove that guilt beyond the shadow of a doubt in any case, no matter what. Here's some.
One other quick point on that. They caught it from the tail end. It still doesn't go to what I think is one of the most critical issues in the case. What happened at the initial confrontation? If there was that struggle at the car and Brown did reach for the gun and the gun discharged by the car, that really changes the whole state of mind of both people involved in it, both the suspect and the police officer. Though there's no evidence from this new video relating to that, just stuff later on. So that's very key.
Two other quick legal issues that everybody is talking about right now. Apparently, the doctor who was present at Joan Rivers' procedure was not authorized at the clinic. This does happen from time to time, but still it's going to bring a whole lot of people into suspect now and wonder why the entertainer was being treated by somebody who did not have the ability to be there. This is a lawsuit in the making.
It's a huge lawsuit in the making. Typically people in the age range that Joan Rivers is they're retired, they're enjoying the so-called golden years, but she was a money-making machine, still doing one or two different TV shows, Fashion Police, reality show with her daughter, also doing QVC, selling, items on that network. She was making in the tens of millions of dollars a year. So the potential for a lost earnings claim, and also seemed in good health, pain and suffering and all that related to it, could be huge. We're talking in the tens to hundreds of millions of dollars for Melissa Rivers, her daughter, and the estate. What's key here is she went in for a very minor routine procedure, endoscopy in her throat, because she was having problems speaking with her vocal cords. She said her voice was getting a little more raspy, and she wanted to check it out. It's a pretty common, pretty ordinary minor procedure, yet it leads to, once she's in there, they find what they thought was something on the vocal cord, and they decide on the spot that they wanted to do a biopsy right there. Big issue number one is going to be she never gave an informed consent to do that. It was just an endoscopy. So you go and you do that. No one gave them authorization to do a biopsy on the spot. That's usually something that's better done in a more hospital setting where everything is prearranged and you know what you're going in to do. And once they did that biopsy, the allegation is they did something to the vocal cord trying to remove it or take the biopsy, that it led to the vocal cord to constrict, which then blocked the airwave, and we know what happened from there. No oxygen then goes to the brain. She loses the brain function. She goes into cardiac arrest. It was a complete mess, leading, of course, to her death. So it could be huge. The negligence and malpractice claims are going to be, multifold against the hospital, the doctor who did it, and probably even the anesthesiologist. So a lot more to come. We got to see what the medical examiner's report's going to say.
Less than 60 seconds. What's your opinion of the Oscar Pistorius verdict?
Not surprising. As I always say, the rich do well. Sports figures who get accused do well. If you're rich and you got money, you rarely ever get convicted because you got too many resources at your hands to do with stuff. I didn't think they were ever going to be able to prove premeditated murder. If anything, I said from the beginning, this was going to be what is the equivalent in the United States of a manslaughter conviction, if anything, and that's what the judge found him guilty of. culpable murder. She didn't think he premeditated any of it, but she thought that his actions were very reckless and they're just very negligent, and that's what he's going to get convicted on. Will he see jail time since it's deemed the first arrest? Probably not. Maybe big fines, community service, house arrest, but a slap on the wrist compared to getting life in prison. He's facing anywhere up to 15 years, but mark my words, it'll be 3 years or less, and may not even be jail time, maybe house arrest.
We're going to mark your word. Sentencing hearing scheduled for October the 13th. Good to see that you have absolutely nothing to add to the conversation and you have no opinions whatsoever. It's always a pleasure to do that. Adam, thanks so much, my friend. Have a great weekend.
You too, and thanks for having me on again.
My pleasure. Take care. Later on this hour, the real issue facing small businesses in America isn't just Obamacare, but the crush of federal regulations. And after the break, a triple killer seeks his freedom. And he actually gets it for a short time, worth about 100 yards. That and a whole lot more coming up right here on MidPoint, where every day we question everything.